Hello everyone and welcome to Battleship Command. I'm Bracer, the developer, and in this video we're going to take a look at some of the changes and new features that are coming with the next update to the game. Most of the features are related to damage control, but there's also been some changes to the propulsion system and how the engines works. So let's get started. Alright, let's start by having a look at the propulsion system and the changes that has been made there. So I made a lot of changes in preparation for the upcoming patrol mode. So previously in the missions they have been more focused on quick combat and not so much searching, and it has been relatively short distances that you need to travel. But in the patrol mode you might have to be out on patrol for a week or 2 weeks, so engine management and preserving fuel will be much more important. So by default, when you start the game, you have all 12 boilers enabled and burning fuel, so that you are able to travel at max speed, since you usually start in a combat situation. But when you want to travel far, you want to preserve fuel and have not have all the boilers burning fuel at the same time. So let's have a look at the propulsion system here. Let's go into propulsion, and we can here see that all 12 boilers, 4 in each boiler room, is currently lit and burning oil. And that's good if we are doing 100% throttle. But for cruise mode, to be able to travel as far as possible, we want to actually shut down a few boilers. If we look at the map, we can see that our current range at this speed, 19 knots, is 3,136 kilometers. But if we're going to travel for 19 knots, we actually don't need all the boilers online. So either we can go in and manually cut the oil supply here and lower the airflow to turn off the boilers, but we can actually do some quick orders now that has been added to the game. So we open up the order tab here, and we can see that the boiler status is all boilers online. We can now give orders here to say how many boilers per room we want online. And for cruise speed, 1 boiler per room is sufficient. So now we can see that the crew shuts down 3 boilers in each boiler room. And when we give a speed order, we can see that they say max speed is currently 19 knots with 1 boiler per room, which is cruising speed. That's excellent. So now the boilers are shut off, and the fuel supply to 3 of the boilers in each room is shut down. So let's have a look in the map and see what our current range is now. As you can see, it increased significantly, and we can now travel more than 12,000 kilometers at 19 knots. When using the boilers for an extended amount of time, there will naturally be fouling building up in the boiler, like soot and oil that needs to be cleaned away, or scaling inside the pipes. And that can be dealt with using maintenance. So let's have a look at how that works. So heading into the systems damage overview here, we can go into propulsion, have a look at the boiler that is online currently. We have 1 per boiler room. So here we can see that the current fouling is 0.02%, so that is nothing. But if you get a significant amount of fouling, it will affect the performance of the boiler, and it might even start to damage the boiler if you run the boilers with too much fouling. Let's head into the map and let's do a little trip and see how the fouling builds up. We can take a trip to Sicily. "16 hours, sounds good." Place a few more waypoints. We have a 24-hour trip in total. Alright, let's go towards Sicily. Now the boiler has various components that can get damaged, like the burners and oil pumps and water pumps, and some of the parts can be repaired at sea, and some parts can not be. They need to be repaired in a dockyard. Alright, we have reached Sicily. Let's see if we can see it. There it is. Alright, the boilers. Yes, now we can see that we have 14% of fouling built up. No damage yet. It's good. But we can also see that the output pressure is slightly lower than it was when we had a totally clean boiler. We actually had 816 psi, as I remember before. This one, boiler number 5, is at 13% fouling, and we actually have 815 psi. Alright, so to deal with this fouling, we need to do maintenance on the boilers. But we cannot turn off the boilers now, because then we will lose speed. So the easy way to swap out the boilers is to tell the crew to use 2 boilers per room. And we can see that they turn on another set of boilers in each boiler room. But we still cannot turn off the boilers yet, because the new boilers, they are just barely online. You can see that the temperature are reaching some, what do we have? I should be up at 150 degrees soon. And there's no pressure going to the turbines. So we need to wait a while for them to start up and get properly hot. So I'll use time compression, and we can watch how the steam builds up. The temperatures are looking good now. But we still need the steam to build up properly. We should reach the 800 line there to get some proper output. There we go. Stopping the time compression. We can see that we are at 816 psi, which is quite a bit more than the boiler with fouling. Alright, now we can see that we even got a slight damage on the boiler. We'll have a look at that later. So now with the second pair of boilers online, we can actually tell the crew to just use 1 boiler per room, and they will turn off the boiler with the most fouling and keep the one that is clean in each boiler room. Boiler 6, boiler 5. And now we can start the maintenance on the boilers. So let's choose boiler 3 first, which has almost 15% fouling. Head into the wrench tab here and tell them to start maintenance. Now we can see that the status turns over to maintenance, and they are preparing the boiler for maintenance. One thing to note here is that as soon as you start maintenance, it will take quite some time to get it online again. So you need to be tactical about when to do the maintenance. That you don't start a maintenance program just before you go into combat, because it will take you quite some time to get them online again. Like so. And now we're still keeping 19 knots. And we can keep traveling. Alright, we traveled for another set of hours. Let's have a look. So now we can see that the boilers has been cleaned. And the boiler that we've been using now has been building up fouling. So this rotation can be good to do once per day or so, depending on how clean you want to keep your boilers. Now when going into combat and preparing the ship for combat, you want to have all available boilers online to be able to go the maximum speed. And to do that, we need to tell the crew to set all boilers online. That is 4 boilers per engine room. And this takes a little bit of time. So you need to be tactical about when you enable all boilers. So if you expect combat, it's a good idea to turn them on as quickly as possible. So let's have a look at what happens here. So all boilers are now lit, but they still need some time to build up steam pressure. So let's use some time compression and watch as they build up. Steam's building up. Our current speed order is 19 knots. So now you can see that the throttles to the turbines got lowered because we have much more steam coming from the boilers. So we are currently not using all the available steam, which is a waste, of course. That's why we only want to have one boiler online while doing cruise speed. But now that we have a maximum amount of steam coming out from all the boiler rooms, we can also travel significantly faster. So we can now order blank speed. And we can see that the throttle opens up and the RPMs of the shafts start to increase significantly. And now with the faster RPMs, we will start to get more, we have more horsepower on the shafts. And we will see that speed will start to build up. We are reaching the low 20s. And using flank speed, running the turbines at max speed has a significant load on the turbines. So the wear and the fouling will start to build up pretty fast. So you need to be conservative with when you use flank speed. Let's have a look at what happens. So currently the turbines are at 6% fouling, and that's from running them for some 24 hours at less than 200 RPMs at cruise speed. So we can see that that's quite okay. We could be running them for a few more days at cruise speed before needing to do any maintenance on them. And maintenance is done in the same way as the boilers. We head into the wrench here and say start maintenance, and the turbine will be taken offline and the maintenance will be done on the turbine. So now we're running them at 96% throttle. Let's see what happens if we run at flank speed for a few hours. Let's say we do... Let's start with 4 hours and see what happens. I'll use time compression. We can see that the range at this current speed is a lot lower than when we used cruise mode, because all boilers are online and they are burning a lot of fuel. Alright, we've been going for 3 hours. Let's have a look at the turbines. we can see that in just 3 hours we built up to 20% fouling compared to when we were doing cruise speed, and we only had 6% fouling after 24 hours. And now we can also have a look at how the damage system works. So we can see that we have 3% damage, and we can inspect the various components of the turbine by clicking inspect. So here we can see that we have a few components that are not repairable at sea. So there's the main high pressure turbine and the intermediate pressure turbine, the low pressure turbine, the turbines for the reverse, and the gear. These components are not repairable at sea. But many other components, which are smaller and more replaceable, like the steam nozzles and the condensator, can be repaired a bit, the pump and various pumps. These can be repaired. But these are also components that get a lot more wear from using them while there is fouling. Alright, let's keep going a bit more, see what happens. Let's see, currently we have an output of 2,677 RPMs. So around there. Let's go for a few more hours and see what the consequences are. We're currently running at 30 knots. Let's head up to Sardinia. Four-hour trip, sounds good. Let's use time compression. And now if we keep an eye on the knots here, we can see that the turbines are not really, they don't have the stamina to keep up anymore. 26 knots. Alright, that cannot be good. We see the coastline of Sardinia. Let's take a look. And now we can see we're up at 30% fouling on the turbines. And we are taking quite a lot of damage to them. And we are outputting almost 400 RPM less per turbine. So let's have a look at the damage here. We can see that all the components are getting a lot of wear. So I think it's a good time to do some maintenance of some of the turbines. Let's go back into cruise speed. 1 boiler per room. And now our top speed will be reduced quite a lot. I'll give an order here and see what they say our top speed is. 19 knots. Alright, let's go for that. 20 knots, it says there. Let's do 19 to take the load off of the turbines a little bit. Let's say we do the middle turbine first. So in the same way, we can do maintenance and the turbine will be shut down. But if we start to repair components of the turbine, there will also be maintenance done at the same time. So let's have a look at the damage instead. And let's say we want to fix the cool water pump. We can take the steam nozzles as well. We are currently able to repair 5 things at the same time. So if we add another one, a 6th one, we'll see that is in queue. So we'll skip that for now, just to show how the effect is. Alright, so the turbine is being shut down. And we can see that it is currently under repair. We have a report here that the pipes from the intermediate to the low pressure turbine is leaking. So that's why we're losing some performance of the turbine. Alright, let's see. So repairs will be in around 90 minutes, so 1.5 hours. Let's do some time compression for 1.5 hours. So at around 3 o'clock. They will report as soon as the turbine is brought back online. There we go. Repairs finished on the center turbine, preparing for startup. Let's have a look. So now we can see that the nozzles has been fixed and the cool water pump as well. So looking at the turbine here in the propulsion, we can see that the damage is now down to 9%. Fouling is gone, and we can see that it performs quite a bit better than the turbines that has damage and fouling. So now we can start reparations of the other turbines as well. Let's have a look at how flooding works now, and how you can maintain flooding and stop flooding. So if we head into the systems overview and we head into flooding, we can see that there's currently no floodings on the ship, and we have 6 pump teams that are all on standby. Their efficiency is maximum and also their strength. Now let's start a flooding on the ship. So I'm going to use some cheat buttons I have here on my other monitor, and let's start a few floodings. Now we can see on the yellow spots here that those sections of the armor has been damaged, and we can see that water is leaking into these sections. We can also see that the pump teams at once headed to these sections and started to patch the leak. So the first thing they are going to do is to start to patch the hole and try to stop the flooding. And that will be possible to a certain degree as long as the section is not totally damaged. And as soon as they have patched the hole, they will start to pump the water out. So let's see how that works while using time compression. You can see the water is still leaking in. They're doing their best to patch the leaks. Compartments are totally flooded now. And we can see that the teams are getting quite tired. Their efficiency is getting low. So what we can do now is actually to grab the other team, drag it into the section we want them. And now those teams get some rest. Now the patches are totally fixed, and the flooding is going down as they pump out the water. And there we go, teams are back on standby. Now if we would have much more damage to the section, let's do a few more floodings here, then we can see that the section is unpatchable. Then it means that there's nowhere way to repair that section. So if we head into the damage, we can see that this section is Actually here we can see that the section is 100% damaged. So another part of the ship that also has been going through some changes are the main guns and the turrets of your ship. So every time you fire a shell, there will be wear on the barrels. There will also be a fouling building up inside the barrels and inside the turret itself. So for example, as you fire a shell, the rifling inside the barrel gets worn out little by little, which will degrade the performance of the turret, and you will have less stable shells going out, so there will be more dispersion and less power in the shells. So let's see how that works. So heading into the systems overview, clicking on the main turret here, we can see that we have damage, fouling, and we have fouling on the barrels and also wear on the barrels. So this can be maintained, and the fouling can be cleaned out the same way as we did with the boilers and the turbines. If we have a look at the components of a turret, we can see that there's a few who is not repairable at sea, like the train mechanism and the gun cradles. But other parts like the ammo hoists and the hydraulic pump and these kind of things can be slightly repaired at sea. And when you fire the turret and the fouling builds up, the more fouling you have, the higher the chance is that the barrels will be worn out. So it's a good idea to keep them clean and well maintained. It will of course take a while to do the whole maintenance procedure, so you should not be doing that in the middle of battle. Let's fire a few shells and see what the effect is. So I'll just shoot out a few shells, 15 kilometers. Turret A, turret B, and let's also fire turret C as soon as it's ready. Now when we have a look at the systems view here, we can see that there's been some wear to the barrels and fouling is building up. Depends a bit on how far you are shooting. The further you shoot, the higher the wear will be. Now if we want to do maintenance on the turret, we do it the same way as with the boiler. Head into the wrench tool and say start maintenance. We can cancel the maintenance, but as with the boilers it takes a little while to prepare the guns for combat again. So be sure to only do maintenance when you know that you will not end up in any type of combat. So the gun is being prepared for maintenance, and when it's under maintenance the fouling will be cleaned away so that we have good performance of the guns again. The wear, on the other hand, cannot be repaired at sea, because it means that you need to reline the barrel to get the new rifling, or you need to actually replace the whole barrel. And the barrel life of these turrets are around 300 shells, depending on how maintained you keep the barrels. If you fire them while there's a lot of fouling, the life length will be a lot less. Alright, that's about it for this update. And these changes will be coming to the game within a few days, hopefully. I have a few more things to add and some balancing to do. Some things needs to be tweaked with the pump teams especially. And then I also need to add this to the save and load system. So very soon. So I hope you enjoyed the content of this update, and I will see you soon again. Take care.